In this fun picture book by Adam Wallace, Turkey has been invited to the November ball, but has no idea what to wear. Feeling insecure about how she looks, Turkey tries on many disguises with the help of friends. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Adam Wallace is the New York Times best-selling author of the popular How to Catch picture book series and 100 other books for children. He joins us from Australia to talk about Turkey in disguise. Adam, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be here.
Well, this is another in your series of picture books, so tell us about readers are going to find here.
Well, this one, it's a book called Turkey in Disguise, and a bit of a Thanksgiving book, which is interesting because we don't actually celebrate Thanksgiving in Australia. So I've been to a couple of Thanksgiving dinners. My sister lived in America. My god-sister lived in America for a while and married an American. And so we did a couple of dinners, but generally we don't. So this was a really fun book to research and look into a little bit. And I mean, it's a little fun, silly book, but it's got a nice message running through it as well of being yourself and not having to pretend to be someone else.
So we've got this turkey, and she's not invited to Thanksgiving dinner, per se. She's invited to a November ball, but she's insecure. So tell us about this story.
Yeah, she's insecure and thinks she's a bit drab and a bit boring, and everyone else looks quite fancy. So she decides that she'll dress up and wear a disguise. And the idea for this came from an activity I believe is done in a lot of schools over in America, where they'll take a picture of a turkey and disguise it. So, I mean, basically, so it doesn't get eaten for Thanksgiving dinner. And so we didn't want to go down that path, so we thought we'd do the party. And so, yeah, the turkey disguises herself in very random disguises. My favorite is when she disguises herself as a park bench, I think, and the picture for that is fantastic as well. So, yeah, so she goes to these, I mean, she becomes a zombie, she's Santa Claus, she's a unicorn, and all different things as it goes through, which is really fun to think up the disguises as well.
And her friends are there, but they don't like any of her disguises.
No, that's right. And in the end, it's the friends that sort of make her see that she's great as she is. But I like the disguises. I would have actually voted for a couple of the disguises for her to wear them, but I see where they're coming from as well. And even the Dalmatian, they're like, you just look like a sick turkey with all those spots on you and things like that. So they're there to kind of help her, but the main thing is that they're realizing what she's trying to do, and they just want her to be happy with herself, and which I guess all of us want that a little bit for our friends, right?
Adam, would you read a small portion of the book for us to give us a sample of what readers are going to find here?
I'd love to. So here we go. So Turkey in Disguise. I'll start from the start, which, as we discussed, is a good place to start from. Each year in the fall, it's come one, come all, as the animals hold a November ball. It's always a full house, everyone's invited, but one turkey was definitely not excited. I can't go, she moaned. I'm so drab and so boring. When people see me, they're going to start snoring. She started to cry, then with a gasp realized, I won't be boring old me if I am disguised. Please, she begged her friends, help me to see which disguise makes me look less like, well, me. So all her friends gathered to help get this done. Then they eagerly awaited disguise number one. Turkey came out and was covered in dots. All over her feathers were hundreds of spots. Look at me, she cried, I'll cause a sensation. Everyone will love me when I'm a Dalmatian. Her friends cried out, no, please don't do this. In terms of disguises, this one is a miss. You don't look like a dog. Wash off those spots quick. You look like a bird who is very, very sick. So that's just the first couple of pages in the first disguise.
And she goes on, and her park bench disguise is excellent.
Yeah.
They would never know that was her. And then there's another point, she dresses up like a ninja, and they can't even find her. She's so good in that disguise.
Yes, exactly. And that was great with the illustrator, Mike Moran, so I sent through the Word document basically, and it's so good working with illustrators where you never really know what they're going to come up with, and they interpret it often in ways that that you don't sort of see. And so with like the ninja and the park bench, with other ones, the unicorn is joined with an ice cream cone on her head for the horn and different things. And most of them, it's got, the spots for the Dalmatian. But then the park bench, he literally just drew a park bench. Like her disguise was so good. She was actually a park bench. And the ninja, she disappears. So it's always so exciting to see what an illustrator is going to come up with, the way they interpret the story.
And it's a fun read for kids, but as you point out, there's a message there as well about being yourself and not being self-conscious.
Yeah, definitely, which I wish I had that lesson when I was younger, because I was very, very self-conscious, especially as a kid and a teenager. And we want to fit in, and we want to fit in and we want to stand out at the same time, and we want to be seen, but we don't want to be noticed at the same time. It's a very confusing, it's confusing all our lives for a lot of people. So it's nice and I think it's really nice to have a bit of a story that on the surface might seem a bit fun and a bit silly, but does have that lesson underneath it as well, where it's not sort of really preaching it strongly to people, but it's things that teachers and parents can talk about with the kids and discuss them after they've read the book. So the book's it's fun, but it's a starting point at the same time.
So this is a picture book. So for what age is the book recommended?
We're aiming at that sort of about 3 or 4 to 8 years old. We call it primary school. Is it? I think elementary school is the same thing over in America. So so that early schooling, preschool sort of age.
I'm curious about, you've created so many books for children. What is it you enjoy about writing for this audience?
It's so funny. I was actually at a school yesterday doing a visit, and one of the kids asked, what's the best thing about writing? And I started listing a couple of things, and I just kept going because it's kind of everything. But for this age, writing for that younger age group, they're just so, and I don't know if enamored is the right word, but they just listen and they just focus in and they respond. They're not too cool to respond and things like that. And they're so open and willing to give it a chance, I guess. Like they want to be impressed. They don't want to, so they're not too cool. They want you to impress them. And so they give you every chance to do that. But also they're very, very honest. If they don't like it, they'll let you know as well. And I think that honesty is so good, because when you get a response or a laugh, or they're like, oh, look at that picture, it's so genuine. And so it lets your own inner child come out as well.
How did you become interested in this career? Why did you want to become a writer for children?
It's a great question. I know we don't have hours, so I'll give the short answer, but it's a longish story. But I basically loved writing as a kid, and I would always write at home and loved writing little funny things at school. And I had one grandmother who wrote books for children as well, and she was also an amazing pianist and could speak 5 languages. My other grandmother was an actress. My stepdad was a teacher librarian. My mum taught ballet. We had this amazingly creative family. My sister's a dancer. And at my final year of schooling, I almost failed English. All my essays, all my stories were getting 3 out of 10, and I was failing. And I had to write what I didn't like in order to pass. And I hated it. Like, I just hated that idea of, I have to do something I don't like to get the result. What's the point? So being very mature, I said, that's it. I'm never writing again in my life. And so I didn't. For 10 years, I did engineering and went full math science. And then about 10 years later, I was basically dared by my fiance at the time to write a children's book, because she'd just written one. And I did it, and it unleashed, it just sort of opened up this 10 years that I hadn't done it. And so I wrote, never thought of it as a career, but just really enjoyed it. Got rejected when I sent my books out to publishers, and eventually self-published 2,000 books and sold them quite quickly. And that was a point where I went, maybe this is something I can actually pursue as a career. And so, that was kind of the starting point. And then it's sort of gone on amazing steps and an amazing journey since then. It's been wonderful.
And as you mentioned earlier, when you do a picture book, it's not just you. There's this kind of dance between you and the illustrator, because part of the story is told in images and part of it's told with text. So tell us a little bit more about that challenge, because I think some people must think that a picture book is something easy, but actually it's a bigger challenge than most people think.
It is. There's a lot of people that sort of say, anyone can write a kid's book and things like that. And I was chatting to one guy one time and he asked what I did. And I said, I write for children. And he goes, I tried to write a book once and I can't write. So it became a children's book. And that's this kind of thing, because it's so short, they think it's quite simple, but it is intricate. And especially working with an illustrator, if you write in everything in the story, there's no space for the illustrator to draw it. And so you've got to leave those gaps for the illustrator. And there's a lovely quote a friend of mine here, Lee Hobbs, says, who's an amazing writer. He says, a bit like you said, the words tell one story, the pictures tell another story, and the third story is kind of the gap in between that the kids fill in themselves, and how the words and pictures work together. So yeah, it's something that's hard for a lot of authors, and for me always was and still is, a little bit of leaving that space, because you want to put everything in when you're writing the story. But picture books are generally under 500 words. So you've got to tell that concise story in under 500 words. But we have the luxury of having an illustrator who can then expand that world and add little bits in. And as we said, the way Mike drew the costumes, that gives the kids another little thing to talk about. And I think it's the closest thing to a movie is a picture book, because you've got that kind of combination of the words and the action almost as well.
Well, there's a lot of humor in this book, but the very last line of the story seemed to me was a nod to the adults that might be reading this to children, because a little bit of dark twist there, perhaps, because and I'll look down to get this right, and I hope this isn't too big of a spoiler, but you write, and at dinner, turkey was the most popular guest.
It was. I don't know how that could be dark at all. No, look, it was one that I really want to get that. And it's really fun, right? Because that a lot of times, especially for this age group and the younger kids especially, parents or teachers are going to be reading it. So you want to put in little bits for them as well and make it interesting for them. And so, yeah, that was a little bit of a nod that we didn't want to make it about a Thanksgiving dinner, because that we wanted to sort of have it a bit separate from that and have it a bit fun and light. But subtly got in that line, which it's actually one of my favorite lines in the book. I was so excited that we were able to leave it in.
Yeah, because a kid will take it one way, the adult will take it a different way, but it's fun.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is, I understand you have a new series that you're going to be introducing next year. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, yeah. I actually have a couple, so I'll try and work into which one you mean. So I've got a new series coming out, which is I Think I Saw. So there's things like I think I saw a dinosaur. I think I saw Santa Claus. I think I saw the Easter Bunny and ones like that, which I'm very excited about, and they've been really fun to write. I also have a new book I just brought out here in Australia, which is going to be coming out called Hat Man, which is a bit of a longer one. That's for older kids, more that 8 to 12-year-old. And that's actually a musical in a book as well. So, yeah, super excited about that. And then a couple of other little projects I'm working on as well. But in terms of this age group, it's the I Think I Saw books are going to be coming out next year. And they look wonderful as well. Again, the illustrators added really great little bits to it. And it was fun writing those. We sort of did it with, I guess, more like a dinosaur and Santa and things like that. But then also I think I saw our teacher and different ones where the kids in the story end up going, once they find them and find all these exciting things about them, they decide that's the career they want to pursue as well. So, yeah, so that was and again, fun, silly story, but with that little message underlying it as well of what your career might be.
And speaking of fun stuff, reading your bio, I have to ask you about your miniature golf course in your backyard.
Yes, during the COVID pandemic and lockdowns and everything, I decided to pandemic-proof my house in a little way. And so I bought a dartboard, I bought some video games, I bought a pool table. And then my backyard, I just bought the house. And the backyard, if it rained, it would be a little sprinkle of rain, but then the backyard would become this mushy mess because there was no drainage in it. And I thought, I want to install some drainage. And I thought, maybe I could do like just a little putting surface, a couple of meters long at the top so I could have a little putt because I love my golf. And then I thought I may as well ask them what it would cost to do the whole back. And it's not a big backyard, but to do the whole backyard as a miniature golf course. And it wasn't a lot more. And so I was chatting to them. It was great. When they were installing it, they got so excited. So we've got 6 actual holes. And one of them, the guy was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up some concrete around it. So it's on a little bit of a mound. So the ball will drift off and slide to the side. And so they really got into it as well. So yeah, now I have an 18-hole mini golf course in my backyard, which is wonderful. I love it. And it's great telling the kids about that as well. And that actually inspired a series as well. So I was chatting with a friend and I was saying it's 18 holes that I've planned out, but really the number of holes is infinite because you can start anywhere, go around the whole garden or just do a short one. And we came up with this idea, 18,000 holes in the universe. So we co-wrote a series about these kids that get sucked into this magical miniature golf course and they've got to battle dragons and food monsters and all various things in order to finish the hole. So it's that thing again. Yesterday at the school, kids asked, where do your ideas come from? And that one came from my backyard. They can kind of come from anywhere. So that's the joy of creating and writing is ideas are everywhere. It's just our job to grab onto them and see what we can make of them.
And this current book that we've been talking about is Turkey in Disguise, where the turkey is pretty creative about disguises as well. It's by Adam Wallace. Adam, thank you very much for talking with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always wonderful to chat from half a world away and have these connections. So yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
If you'd like to purchase Turkey in Disguise, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Well, thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.